Bird gang. Look, Slim Reaper, how I read the blitz. Throw me the bag, I'm cashing in 6-0s, Devontae Smith. Who the better brother? I plead the fifth. This the Bird gang. We going to war. AJ put y'all to shame. 100 yards a game. This year I was already got my name to grave. Step back, you ain't trying to catch my fade. Fly, Eagles fly.
Fly, Eagles fly, the birds and the guys on the way to victory. This is the start of the ride, one finger heavy. Gotta make it tough for all five. From the city where they pop a wheelie in front of your eyes. It's game time, get on the line. Sirianni drawing the plays, Hurts throwing them dimes. Oh my, y'all thought y'all had a chance. You better stack up your teams if you're trying to win against mine.
Welcome in to another freaking episode of the Bird Gang Brothers podcast. We're coming to you right after the Kansas City Chiefs and Philadelphia Eagles game. I'm still kind of trying to catch my breath. My heart rate was off the charts, kind of like the Dallas Cowboys game. Because honestly, if you think about it, Patrick Mahomes got the ball with, I think, just over 250 in the game.
You never want to give him more than like 30 seconds, I swear. Like the dude is unstoppable, almost unstoppable with limited time on pulling out the game.
Not unstoppable with the freaking Philadelphia Eagles, baby. Just wanted to give a reminder to the Dallas Cowboys and their fans that they are still number 2 in the NFC East. Continued to whine throughout the bye week that they should have beat Philadelphia. And also want to give a reminder to the San Francisco 49ers that the Philadelphia Eagles are still the reigning NFC champions. So kind of looking forward to that matchup here in about 2 weeks. That will be fun. But we're back at home the next 2 weeks against the Buffalo Bills, which do not scare me. And then the following week against the San Francisco 49ers. So should be intriguing. But let's just go ahead. Let's talk about the game that we just finished. Obviously we're recapping this for the first time. Haven't really discussed the game prior to recording. So what are your thoughts? Whatever order you want to go in, just spew some facts.
Dude, I was on like a freaking roller coaster that entire game. Like, right at the beginning, I was like, okay, starting off hot, Hassan Reddick sack right off the bat. I think it was the second play of the game. I was getting excited and then just kind of casually started going downhill. I was losing hope, wasn't paying too close attention. I was kind of looking through Twitter, seeing what people were saying.
So was I.
But hey, that second half brought me back to life. I gave credit to my wife. She was out shopping the whole night. She came back, and Philly started playing better and putting points on the board. So kind of gave her a little credit there on being our good luck charm. But no, dude,
go.
It was. I don't know. It was a mix of emotions throughout the entire night.
Yeah, no, I agree. I have no doubt in my mind that whenever Philadelphia goes down a score, that Philadelphia will respond. That's Jalen Hurts. He's not going to let the team take a play off, slack, get lazy. So I wasn't worried that we wouldn't respond. It was kind of funny, and I wish I had my brother-in-law said that this game is scripted, kind of like, the lead up to the Super Bowl last year, because it was a 3-and-out for Philadelphia, 3-and-out for Kansas City, score and a score. And then just each possession, it almost matched up for each team. So I thought that was kind of funny. But when you compare the first and the second half, I feel like the first quarter for Philadelphia was pretty good. And then the second and third quarter, there was no movement. There was no offensive power.
Offensive plays in general.
Offensive plays in general. And I guess let's go there. The play calling from Brian Johnson. I haven't been one to call for his job up to this point in the season, and I'm still not. That's not what I'm saying. But what pisses me off is, and this was in the fourth quarter, it's 3rd and 22, and we're going to call a quarterback draw. And before that, I think it was on the same drive, we're throwing a screen pass to the left side to Devontae Smith, and then one to the right side to Zacchaeus, maybe? Could be wrong. But I just didn't get that. Back-to-back screen passes. It wasn't working. A QB draw. And, I mean, we got lucky when Jalen Hurts ran the touchdown in on the QB draw. I mean, the offensive line created a decent hole, but 3rd and 5 and you're calling a quarterback draw. I feel like that's all he has written on his call sheet is quarterback draw. Like, that's the only play, and it's so irritating.
I looked at his play calling throughout the night, and I like my first initial thought was like, "Hey, that's me and Madden football, playing on the PS4." Like deciding to run the worst type of plays. I don't know. It was absurd. I gotta say that's the word I'm thinking about in regards to that. It just wasn't looking hot for him when he was making those calls.
So let me go to this statistic, because eye test, you wouldn't believe it. Via the statistics, it kind of shows where we are as an offense. So under Brian Johnson as the offensive coordinator, Philadelphia is number 2 in points, number 2 in yards, number 1 in first downs, and they are top 5 in both rushing and passing yards.
Didn't look like that tonight.
That shocks me. Now, you look at those numbers, because that's what coaches go off of. That's what analytics go off of. And there's no reason to call for Brian Johnson's job. But an interesting thought, and shout out to Joey Shakes because he voiced this, but I had this thought a couple weeks ago. Nick Sirianni is so close with Frank Reich, former offensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles, Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator. And I don't think Brian Johnson is in line for a head coaching job after 1 year. But you just have to think, with Frank Reich on the hot seat in Carolina and his job being in jeopardy, if there is some type of reunion with Frank Reich and Nick Sirianni in Philadelphia. Now, maybe he's a consultant on the offensive side of the ball, and he'll remain there until Brian Johnson gets a head coaching job and then promoted to offensive coordinator. Like, it's an interesting thought. I don't know if I see it happening, but you've heard it. You know how Nick Sirianni feels about Frank Reich. So the play calling from Brian Johnson tonight was, and out of respect for some of our listeners, it was booty. It was straight up booty in the way that he called that game. So
you got to think for a little bit, and it, it's not going to take into consideration of all the plays that were drawn up, but like, did the weather play any of a factor into the calls that were being made for Jalen tonight? It was raining, but still, like a 3rd and 22, 23, whatever, like these just the QB draws, I don't know. There's not an excuse for that one, but you also got to think that a lot of the other plays throughout the night, maybe they're not going as deep. I mean, Brown had what, two catches, something like that.
One catch for 8 yards.
So I do think, that was something I was thinking about watching the game. Like, the weather had to play a little bit of a factor in that play calling.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. When you have a game like that in weather like that, you're going to run the ball more. And to be honest, if we're going to name an MVP of this game, I think it's got to be DeAndre Swift because
He
on
was he was the real Swift at Arrowhead tonight.
oh my goodness, no disrespect to Travis Kelsey, we both love the New Heights podcast. Those two brothers, something special, no doubt. I was kind of grateful that Taylor Swift was not there tonight because it just gets irritating. We're in the National Football League and half of the airtime goes to Taylor Swift up in the VIP box with Brittany Mahomes doing their little dances for TikTok and what's his name, Jackson Mahomes.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
So, oh, so I get real irritated when football games are on and they decide to go to that image, but at the same time, when she's not there,
Travis
Travis
doesn't do
Kel
too.
Travis Kelsey struggles, and we did a very good job of shutting him down today. Zach Cunningham did a fantastic job. I think he split duties with Kevin Byard and did a great job at shutting down Travis Kelsey. But he had a bad game. I mean, that fumble is unlike him. He dropped that pass there in the fourth quarter to convert. So, and I know we're jumping all over the place, but jumping back to Kevin Byard, there was that blown coverage when I think it was Watson that maybe scored for the Chiefs. And I believe that was Byard's man. And so I went to Twitter, probably like you, and
Everyone else.
and everyone was like, okay, I think we need to discuss this Kevin Byard trade. And there was all this slander and trash talking. And then he makes that interception in the red zone, which that was beautiful because Mahomes did not see Byard coming over. So that was beautiful. And then I went to Twitter right after he made the interception and, oh, I'm sorry for the slander, Kevin Byard. So
I,
it
I,
was.
it was time for him to make a big play. He's
Mhm.
been here for a couple weeks, but he really hasn't had a big time play. So having that interception tonight, I was happy to see him ball out. And I mean, looking back at games against with Kansas City and Tennessee when he was out there, he has phenomenal games against Travis Kelsey.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
he
that
does.
was and the Chiefs alone, like so. It was another one of his good games, and I was happy for him to ball out. Like that was one of the positives I was able to take away from the defense, take away from the game. Um, there were a lot of questionable calls, both ends,
Mhm.
but we're not Dallas Cowboys fans, so we're not going to put it on the refs.
Exactly. Nope. I watching a game, there were a lot of flags, but I felt like they were equal for the most part for both teams. I would have liked to see a little bit more. I felt like our defensive linemen were getting bear hugged or tackled to the ground most of the, well, I shouldn't say most of the game, part of the game. But yeah, flags were pretty evenly matched for both sides, and great statement. Don't want to be whining like the Dallas Cowboys fans. So, we'll drop it at that. Win or lose, I was going to come on and say the same thing about the flags. So, I do, yeah, I do agree that the refereeing is questionable tonight.
There were two controversial calls that really stuck out to me that got me questioning the calls being made. One of them being I want to say the play was dead for a good 7-8 seconds. And then
Oh,
here you are having Patrick Mahomes going over to the ref, looking like LeBron James, whining about every little tacky thing.
Telling the ref what needs to be called.
Like it was a joke. And then, you know,
Which when they reviewed it, AJ Brown's leg hit him, so down by contact. And I agree with that. But don't let the play go on for that long afterwards. AJ Brown strips the ball, and then as the referee step in and say, "Oh no, Chiefs ball, we're headed this way." Like that pissed me off, and that was one of those moments where I was like, okay, the referee is wearing a Chiefs jersey. You know, I hate being that fan, and I don't ever make comments like that because you don't ever want to say that the refs are for one team or for one all-star. But that one, I was just like, it didn't make sense. Why'd you let the play go on for so long?
that it was not good reffing at all on both sides. I mean, those refs looked like Pac-12 refs, and for all you out there who are Pac-12 fans, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But like it was terrible all around. Like it wasn't favoring one team or the other. They were both, they were both penalized, and a lot of them were tacky. But I mean, show goes on. Philly goes on, 9-1.
Dude, that was, I mean, one thing that I've learned over the last couple of years is a game is never over till it's over. And despite how horrible we looked, it was only 7-17 coming out of halftime. And they didn't score once in the second half because it ended up being 21-17. So we scored two more. One on that long, well, no, it went down to the one. That long ball to Devontae Smith, then pushed in by Jalen Hurts. And then, remind me, what was the other one?
You're going blank.
Holy
I can't
cow.
remember.
Was it DeAndre Swift? Wow, that's embarrassing. We just watched the game.
Maybe it's not so great to be recording right after the game. We need to go back
No,
and
no,
actually
because
watch.
as time goes on, I'd forget it, but I'm forgetting it now, so I don't know what's happening. So, anyways, for us to hold them to no points, that was pretty impressive, dude. I feel for Marquez Valdez Scantling.
Mm-hmm.
That was a perfectly thrown ball by Patrick Mahomes, and he dropped it. Now, obviously, I'm grateful as a Philadelphia Eagles fan, but as Scantling, dude, that sucks. Like mentally, he's kicking himself. So let's see.
Oh, we had we already spoke on it. It was Jalen Hurts' run, the QB design. It was a 10, 12-yard
Oh,
run, and then the
that's right.
tush push.
For some reason, I thought that was.
I thought there was someone else in the mix who had scored. Don't know why.
Yeah, you know what hurt us? Not having Dallas Goedert tonight. Like that's.
We also had another tight end go down with an ankle injury.
Yeah, Calcaterra.
So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, that's a very thin tight end room.
Position. Yep. Well, we just signed Togi this last week to the practice squad. And we've got Albert O, and then Jack Stoll. So luckily, Dallas Goedert's not on IR, which is a huge positive for us. Probably putting him back for the Dallas Cowboys game, maybe earlier. Who knows? But yeah, to come out of Kansas City with a win. I mean, there was a lot of hype surrounding that game, and moving to 9-1 is huge for the NFC race because you got Detroit right on our tails, Dallas and San Francisco. So huge win. I wasn't expecting it with the way the offense played the second and third quarter, but
I was just surprised. I mean, I saw a stat right at the end of the game. because I wasn't paying too much attention to Jalen's, completions and stuff like that. I was too focused on what Philly wasn't doing right.
Yep.
um, 14 of 22, like that is not a lot, but yet still to walk out of Arrowhead with a win, like they proved me wrong. I had them losing. For all of you who remember our first episode, we discussed this game,
Mm-hmm.
and I picked them losing. So uh, I apologize, Philly,
Mm-hmm.
for doubting you, but thank you for that win.
Yeah, no, that was huge, and I feel. I mean, I'm happy for Jason Kelsey because he said this week that he's never beat Kansas City ever since Andy Reid left Philadelphia. So that was huge. Now, both have a win, one in the Super Bowl, one in the regular season, and then we'll see, you know, for Super Bowl 58 if it's a rematch. Just talking to people, I don't think the AFC is very loaded, so it wouldn't surprise me if Kansas City's back in there. We have a more difficult path with the Lions, and I'm not necessarily worried about the Lions because of experience. I think that that's what it may come down to, and our pressure up front. But San Francisco, I mean, you obviously want everyone healthy, but Ufunga, the safety for the 49ers, tearing his ACL, that's a huge blow to their secondary. Their secondary already has troubles. So, no, go ahead. Were you going to say something?
No, just kind of finish off your thoughts. I have another thought, kind of leaning into the NFC race and how it's kind of looking up.
No, go ahead, because honestly, I was just going to look at some stats.
No, yeah, something important to look at. We got some big games on a short weekend
Yeah.
coming up on Thanksgiving, and
Mm-hmm.
Packers and the Lions. You never know. These games could be. You never know how they could turn out. You
Yeah.
got the Cowboys and Commanders, and you got the 49ers and the Seahawks. So, your teams in the NFC, like race, they're all on a short week right now. They all
Yeah,
play Thursday, so
that's true. Yeah, the Washington Commanders are no walk in the park. So, that could be a good game in Dallas on Thanksgiving. I think it's going to be a little easier for the Lions, but who knows, because they had a struggle in division with the
the
Bears.
Bears.
I
Mm-hmm.
really wish the Bears would have pulled that out, honestly, for our sake, but yeah, tonight's win was huge
It was big.
because, like I said, I don't fear Buffalo, so I think we'll be 2-0 in this so-called gauntlet, and then you've got that stretch with San Francisco and Dallas. So if 3-1, dude,
I'd be happy.
we'll be what they call Gucci baby. We'll be Gucci baby.
I don't know what it's gonna take because I guarantee you, we hop onto all these talk shows and stuff tomorrow morning, and it's still gonna be, Philly's not gonna be given their credit. There's always ways for individuals, podcasts, TV shows, to not give credit where credit is due in regards to the Philadelphia Eagles. So I'm definitely tuning in. I want to check that out. But
I don't know. I could see it both ways. I do agree that Philadelphia gets disrespected quite a bit and they don't get that credit where credit's due. But at the same time, even against the best, Patrick Mahomes being the best in the AFC, they still find a way to win, even with how ugly they played. So I don't know. I agree with you. I'm interested to tune in tomorrow to see what everyone says about this game. But there was a lot of people picking the Kansas City Chiefs, and deservedly so because you're in Kansas City.
it's a
So
hard place to play. It is
hard,
loud.
hard place to play, and screw my buddy for flying out to KC and going to the game. He said that there were a ton of Eagles fans in the airport. So obviously we know that Eagles fans travel well. I do have to say I was a little or am a little worried because the offensive line just seems off.
They were still left in the bye week. Like they were not present for a good chunk of that game.
They gave up. I mean, I'm looking at it. I think they gave up 5 sacks. Two of them, I feel like we couldn't shut down Chris Jones. Chris Jones was a menace. He was all over the field tonight. He had 2 sacks. Trent McDuffie, coming out of the secondary, had 2 sacks. And then one for George Karloftis. So 5 sacks altogether to our one from Hassan Reddick, who came in the first half. We got more pressure on Patrick Mahomes this game. And, you know, we want to leave the Super Bowl in hindsight, and I'm not making excuses. We lost the game. It is what it is. But better field conditions. Kansas City had the same offensive line as they had last year for the most part. And we were getting to Mahomes a lot more than we did in the Super Bowl. Our edge with Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick, they were doing a great job. I wish we would have hit Mahomes a little bit harder, put him on his butt a few more times like Fletcher Cox.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can kind of take that penalty because he put, he put him on his butt. But I mean, we'll see how that goes. I hate to wish, hard hits, and I'm not wishing injuries on him, but the dude after that QB show, I don't know if you've seen that on Netflix.
No, didn't watch it.
You got to have respect for the guy. He's amazing. He wins. He's great. But after watching that show, like, there's just something about him where you do not like him. At least for me. That's kind of the feeling I got after watching the show. Cocky, arrogant, I don't know. So I was happy to see Fletcher do what he did.
And I mean, that can be difficult. I'll give that to him. I'm not making an excuse for him, but you've got 2 Super Bowls. You're the best quarterback in the NFL. It's hard not to be arrogant like that, but at the same time, some of these players lose track of that. They need to get humbled once in a while. So yeah, I wanted to see if there were, if we want to talk special teams MVPs, Britton Covey is doing very well. He, 2 or 3 returns tonight, setting us.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, setting us up in great field position.
Yeah, no, I want to say he had 2 over 20, 25, something like that, and then 1 just short, I think like 18. So I mean, the dude showed out. He is quick. I kind of I was crossing my fingers. I predicted a punt return by Covey today, so I got my hopes up a little bit on one of those returns. But no, yeah, he was my special teams MVP.
Yeah. So I mean, before we finish out, I'm just trying to think. Like, great win. We've said that going into Kansas City and getting that win, coming from behind and taking that momentum.
Mm-hmm.
And really playing a solid defensive game in that second half. I was impressed. And Sean Desai, he does this when he needs to. Kansas City, the Dolphins, like, he shows up with the rest of the defense. I still think our secondary really needs to clean things up, but for the most part, I'm super stoked that we came out of Kansas City with a win, because I didn't think it was going to happen based off of that first quarter. So
no, I'm right there with you. I was extremely happy they came out with that W. You always hate, being the sports fanatics that we are. We obviously have a lot of love for other teams, and sometimes it's difficult, when your team gets blown out. College football, not going to go into that, but it's difficult. You don't want both your teams losing. So it was good to come out there with a win. It's a hard place to play, but week by week, as Jalen says, you got to keep the main thing the main thing. So let's just keep rolling forward.
Well, he paid his rent, that's for sure.
Want to really quickly as we're wrapping up, want to give you guys a reminder to give us a shout out or to give us a follow on our social media.
And a
you
shout
can
out.
give us a shout out if you want to.
Give us a shout out.
But go ahead and give us a follow on our social media platforms. And stay tuned. We got something coming for you guys next week. We got a little surprise. So stay tuned for that.
See you guys.